Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Heal with Grace podcast. I am Grace and here to help you understand when do you rest and when do you push through your fatigue. It is such a big question that I get, and honestly, something I have asked myself many, many times as well as I've gone through this journey. So I just want to normalize that. It is, first of all, not an exact science, and my answer is really going to be it depends, which I know that you don't really want to hear, and you want to hear an exact few steps of how to understand that, which I'm going to give you some tips. But just like a lot of this, we're all a little bit different in our symptomology and how it shows up and where we are in this process. So I'm going to share with you the tips that I can give you to help you understand when do you rest and when do you essentially not rest, because I don't like the term push through. I don't actually think you should ever push through. And I'm going to share with you about what I mean by that. So when you have been through chronic fatigue syndrome, ME/CFS, or just chronic fatigue has been a part of your journey, you probably have had times where you've had to push through. You're like, well, life is going on and I can't be tired and sit on the couch today, if that's where you are in your journey. Now, there are some people who cannot do that and are bedridden. And so this might be a little bit different for you, but you can also take it for where you are in your journey and what your symptomology looks like. So, first and foremost, there's a couple different types of fatigue, right? There is the quote unquote normal fatigue, like after a workout or lack of sleep or a big day or a lot of things stacked up over time in your life where you have a lot going on, which is proportionate. The fatigue you feel is proportionate to what's going on in your life. And I'm not talking about post exertion malaise. I'm talking about a true body or mind or energy fatigue that any human on this earth feels when there's a lot going on and they have stress in their life. And again, that's subjective, right? We all experience that a little bit differently and we all hold things differently. We all hold the amount of stress in our lives differently. Then there is chronic fatigue, like symptom fatigue, which is more of a nervous system freeze or shutdown, which is really disproportionate to what has happened in the stress in your life. You might feel achy, foggy, not resolved by extra stress. You sleep all the time and it doesn't change. How fatigued or bad you feel usually has something else going on with it, whether that's like brain fog, achy body, joints, gut issues, other types of symptoms as well. It's not usually just fatigue. And so remember this, that the brain is a prediction machine. It expects fatigue, pain, or symptoms. And that when you're in a high state stress response, and then the body follows with that. So, what we're going to talk about is how to get out of that expectation and really learn how to choose when are you going to rest and when are you not. And first and foremost, I want to say this. When I mean by I don't like the term push through, what I mean is if you're pushing through, you're probably coming at it from a place of shame, guilt, self criticism, judgment, right? You often judge yourself when fatigue or symptoms arise. Like, why is this happening? I shouldn't feel this way. Oh my gosh, how much coffee am I going to have to drink today? I don't know if I can do this. I'm barely hanging on. I don't know how to, what's going on with me? What's wrong? My body's broken. And when we approach ourself and our symptoms with that judgment signals danger back to the brain, which just reinforces the prediction of fatigue. So it creates more fatigue. So that's what's happening when your brain is overprotecting itself. It's not about being broken, it's about perceiving danger where there isn't harm. So it depends answer comes from the place of am I pushing through or am I not? It depends on how you can approach your symptoms. So if you can approach yourself, your nervous system, your fatigue, with a few different things. One, from the knowledge of I know this isn't dangerous. I know there's nothing wrong with me, or at least in a disease type way. This is not a disease. This is not something that I have to live with forever. I know this is my brain and nervous system response, and I know that I can approach it from a place of compassion and love and care and help myself move through this. That's when, if you know you can do that and you can approach your symptoms without the judgment, then I would say, okay, let's move through this. Let's continue with life instead of having to stay put and rest and take a step back. How scared are you when the symptoms pop up? If you're terrified and really fearful and going down the rabbit hole of, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I'm going to have to cancel work. Who's going to pick up the kids? The spiral of the what ifs. If you're in that state, I would not continue to quote unquote push through or to move through your activity level when you want to. If you have something going on or you're trying to increase your exercise or your movement, because that fear is just going to increase the brain response of danger. So, well, but if your symptoms go up a little bit, can you calmly respond and reassure yourself authentically, not with panic? Can you remember that symptoms are evidence of your brain perceiving danger, not actual danger? And if the answer is yes, then you can gently increase activity and keep moving through life. You still might not feel great. You still might feel tired or fatigued, but if you can approach yourself with love and compassion and see that fatigue as a part of you and not the full you, then it's actually a little bit easier to move through life. I mean, I've had days for sure where second my eyes open, I'm like, "Oh, I feel it. I feel it. And what am I going to do? How am I going to go through life? Oh my gosh, I can't do work. I can't see clients. I'm blah, blah, blah." Like, well, the amount of fear that happens when I first opened my eyes, of course, my brain and my body's going to go under even more danger and more symptoms. But instead, if I can open my eyes with, okay, I'm, I'm feeling it today. And I know that this is just a part of me. So I'm going to talk to it and say, hey, I see you. I see your protective mechanism. I see that you're trying to help me. And then I might go into a journal speak practice or a meditation to help reduce symptoms, all the tools that I teach in the mind body healing method. And do the practices I know to help me move through it. And it might not just totally relieve with going through those practices. I might still feel it, but I know that I can move throughout the day knowing that that part's there. It's just kind of like this blanket or this cloud over me or this part of my shoulder, right? But I know that's not fully me. And I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid of those symptoms. I can still be in my work and do what I want to do that day with a lot of grace, a lot of flexibility, a lot of compassion for myself. And I might modify my day for sure, or modify my workout or exercise or whatever it is. But it's from a place of love and care and response of, okay, I know this isn't going to last forever. And it just is what it is. I see it as a part and I'm going to move through it. That's very different than if the answer is no, you can't do that, then it might be better to pause, regulate, and build safety first. Meaning, if you wake up with judgment, or I say wake up, that's just my experience. I know the second my eyes open, like if I'm in symptoms or not. But if that's not in your practice, I wouldn't continue to move forward with increasing your activity if you're coming at it from a place of judgment and criticism. I also want to point out that there's also a trial and error part of this. So it's not always going to be, easy to understand, is this quote unquote normal fatigue or is this like nervous system fatigue? It takes time to understand that. I now understand more of the difference, but if you've been in fatigue and symptoms for a long time, you may not really understand that difference. So it takes practice. Like if you're fatigued one day and you're like, well, I don't really know if this is normal. Like, should I rest because this is just a normal human response, or is this just fatigue? So I should continue on with my day and my exercise because I don't want to give my brain the validation that something's wrong. Well, sometimes you kind of try it out again with some gentleness and ease and talking to yourself and working with your skills and grounding. So what that might look like is, okay, well, maybe I'm actually going to let myself rest today. And I'm going to maybe shift some plans around or cancel something or not do an exercise or movement and really just give myself that rest with compassion. Not while you're resting, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I should be doing more. And feel so guilty for resting. That's not resting. Resting is giving yourself the ultimate permission to be able to rest. And if you do that and you get extra sleep that night or something like that, and then you recognize, oh, okay, I have a little more energy now. All right, well, then you did the right thing. But if you did that and you still have a lot of fatigue and brain fog and you just don't feel well, that is your nervous system and brain response. So that's what I mean by trial and error. Sometimes it takes some experience, some experiments to figure out what's going to work for you and what's not. I mean, this has taken me years to figure out, to be honest. It doesn't have to for you, believe me, because for a long time I was missing that judgment. I was missing the response. I would judge the shit out of myself all the time. Even if I was like, okay, I'm going to give myself time to rest and like relax and just chill. I wasn't. I was judging and criticizing myself the whole time and feeling like so guilty and shameful that I wasn't being more productive. And then I had this whole just distraught mindset of like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? Blah, 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 blah. Right. Again, there's a difference here. So a couple checkpoints here. One, before deciding to rest or move, pause and try to journal. What's really going on for you right now? What are you feeling? Like, what are the depths of your feeling? And if you don't know what I mean by that, you can go back to the episode I have on my podcast about journaling and what that looks like. I mean, I'll link it below. Start to give yourself some self inquiry. Okay, listen to the parts of you that are activated. What's going on right now? Help yourself reduce some fear by maybe somatic tracking, using some sort of meditation, which I have a multiple of in my program that helps reduce this fear and really listen to actually what's going on underneath the surface. Then, if you still want to rest and don't move forward. If you have symptom fatigue, if you know that it's your nervous system and brain response, like you have that chronic fatigue that feels like crap, you can still move through life, but don't come at it from a place of pushing through. Come at it from a place of moving through with compassion and expanding your capacity to hold this stress as you move through life. Respond calmly, meet yourself with compassion, and continue with gentleness. And then you'll also learn what's normal fatigue. So when you're starting a new exercise or workout routine, your body, not just physically, you mentally also might feel extra fatigue, and that's normal. And again, I'm not talking about post-exertional malaise. That's something different. So that is a nervous system response to when you start increasing activity from when you've been healing chronic fatigue, when you've been working through this process and you start to increase your activity and then your nervous system goes, "Oh my gosh, that was so dangerous," and it sends you into a chronic fatigue, like deeper response. That's different. That doesn't mean you did too much. And I know there's some varying opinions about that, but it doesn't always mean that you did too much. And again, when that happens, how can you respond to yourself with compassion and understanding and knowing that that's not always going to be the case? But when you're challenging your nervous system and you're expanding your capacity for these things that your brain has always said is dangerous, then yeah, your body's probably going to respond in the beginning of like, oh, we don't like this. This is dangerous. All right, I'm going to send you these symptoms. So in a way, you can almost expect, I know that's not really great to hear, but you can almost expect that you're not always going to increase activity and it go well. That's just not the reality of recovery, of moving through this. So remember that pushing through is not bulldozing or ignoring your body. It really means showing up softly, even if not at 100%, while teaching your brain that this is safe. And then every time you do this without fear or judgment, your brain learns, I'm not in danger. I don't need to sound the alarm. Yeah. And so every time that you do this, that you experiment with resting, true rest, remember, true rest, not shameful rest, then you reinforce that there's no perfect formula. It's trial and error and depends on how much fear you can meet with calmness. So remember, make this your mantra. Actually, let's make this our mantra. Symptoms are evidence of my brain perceiving danger, not proof that I'm broken. Symptoms are evidence of my brain perceiving danger, not proof that I'm broken or that something is wrong. So, next time you're fatigued, ask, can I meet this calmly? Can I reassure myself? Or do I need to pause first? If you want deeper support in moving through this and you're not exactly sure how all this works, or maybe you've been on this journey and you feel a little stuck, I would absolutely love to support you. This is truly my mission in life is to help support others along this path and to help you understand that you don't have to live and suffer in your symptoms at all anymore. You really don't. So find the link below to sign up for my Mind Body Healing Method group program or for individual support. I have a few spots left for the rest of the year for individual therapy or coaching. And when you do that, when you work individually with me, you also get access to the Mind Body Healing Method. So I would love to support you if you feel like it's the right time for you. And you can let me know if you have any questions. All right, y'all. Talk soon.